This is after the flag, after a sweltering afternoon at the Sachsenring. The German Grand Prix of 2022 is now in the books. It took place in front of a patriotic and packed crowd here at the Sachsenring. They almost got some home success in the Moto2 class, but we're here to talk about the MotoGP race, the German Grand Prix, which saw another Quartararo masterclass. The reigning world champion taking his second consecutive victory and his third Grand Prix victory of the season. I'm Lewis Suddaby. Alongside me is Simon Crafar to talk you through the key action and pick apart this German Grand Prix. And the first thing we have to mention, of course, is Fabio Quartararo, the reigning world champion. Another masterclass from him. He's only 23. I think sometimes we forget just how young he is in MotoGP terms, but he is riding at the absolute peak of his powers right now.
Yeah, he's quite a genius, you know, because as his team manager said, Mayo Merigali, after the race when I interviewed him, the last three races, including this one, they've expected tough races, you know, tough tyre management and a battle, you know, and Fabio's run away with them, you know. So he's doing what no one else can do, especially on that machine, and like he's so at one with it. Excuse me. And a big part of it, I think, is winning a championship, winning races, is being able to manage the bike on a knife edge like that in such difficult conditions, especially the last two, and not fall off, you know. He's like, I said it in one of the FPs, he's got cat-like reflexes and saves those almost crashes, you know, gets mad about, but it doesn't fall off. And I think that's a big part of it. He's riding brilliantly, but he's staying on the bike.
I think as well for Fabio Quartararo, who, it's easy to forget, ran the medium rear tyre today. Not many riders went with that option. Quartararo, I think, is so good at being able to deliver at the key moments in Grand Prix. The start of the race in Catalonia, where we thought that was going to be a key moment in the race, where he was able to get the whole shot and pull away from Aleix Espargaro. And then here, we saw that early battle between himself and Pecco Bagnaia into turn one on the second lap. We've got some reaction to come now, so we'll come back to that in just a moment as we'll talk about Fabio Quartararo. But a rather sweaty Jack Miller is waiting to talk to us. Third place for the Australian today, back on the podium after a rough couple of rounds. You can't keep a good man down. Jack Miller, third place. He's speaking to Matt Birt.
Yeah, thanks, Lewis. That was a real tough one for all the boys on the podium. Jack Miller, we heard him after the Parc Fermé saying it was like being in Malaysia or in Thailand. Congratulations, though, Jack, back on the podium. That was a tough one. You had to work really hard for it, and great to be back on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, it was. That's what you got to do when it's like that. I mean, it's bloody hot out there. There's no two ways about it. I think for me, this is probably the most physical race I've done in MotoGP to date, simply because of the temperature and the layout of the track. You got no rest around here. You know, you're constantly working. Having to work the whole race, chasing, didn't make it any easier. You know, copping the heat off the other bikes and whatnot. But no, I mean, it was a fun race. I definitely had a lot of confidence this weekend, a lot of good, really good feeling with the bike, like since the first rollout in FP1. And yeah, it showed today. I was able to put in some really decent overtaking manoeuvres, even when I'd send it in a few too many times, or a few too deep a couple of times on LH. I knew where my limits were. I knew what the bike was doing and was able to understand if I was going to be able to stop it or not. So no, it was really fun when you can ride with that sort of confidence and attack the corners like I could. So no, awesome race. Long lap penalty was a bit sketchy, but the rest was all right.
I was going to say, in almost a perfect race for you, the only nervy moment really was when you came in for that long lap penalty. I don't think you realised Joan Mir had crashed, and as he tried to remount that Suzuki, he dumped a lot of gravel in there. We saw some replays. That looked pretty close, mate. Yeah,
I felt the front guy hit I saw the rocks hit him with the front tyre. And yeah, they went on me for a little bit, and I was like, oh no. But no, I managed to pick it back up and get out of there without, you know, losing too much time, which was really important and I think crucial for today's result.
You were the same rider in Mugello and Barcelona as what you were in Le Mans. Yeah. Of course, it was a couple of difficult races, though, but that was the perfect response, Jack. I mean, I'm not saying you're back because you've never really gone away, but you must feel that was a much-needed boost.
I mean, you know, those last two, honestly, I haven't felt like myself riding the bike. No confidence in the front. And it just seemed to be at places when we were struggling with grip. And, I mean, grip was very low today out there, but no, with the setup changes that we made in the Monday test, I really, like I said, feel way more confident, way more like my whole self with this bike, and I'm looking forward to the races coming on.
We love the way you ride, but we love the fact you're a great showman. Talk us through that post-race celebration, because we saw pre-race that fan was asking for the glove, and you found him, you gave it to him, and I think you made his life, mate.
Yeah, I saw the thing, and no, I mean, they were at, we had a Ducati event last night. I had to go and have a Ducati meet and greet last night, and they had the sign there, and I said, where are you sitting? And he sort of explained roughly where it was. So I did a bit of a scout around and found him on my way in. It was easy enough, and I even got to do a little burn out there to spin the bike around. The poor thing was getting nice and hot from riding slow down the service road.
Well, you had a great day, Jack, and so did that fan who got the gloves in the grandstand. Top work,
Cheers,
mate. Well
thank
done.
you. Cheers, mate.
He is a top man, isn't he, Jack Miller? Third place this afternoon. And it's funny, isn't it, about Jack Miller? When his back is against the wall, he always comes out fighting. He's had a rough couple of races, which weren't necessarily all his fault, but he's come out fighting. He was quick here right from Friday morning.
Yes, the sad thing to me is that this is the Jack we hoped we'd see when he got the factory bike, you know, and now he's lost the factory bike. Isn't it ironic that they've finally found the setting to keep Jack happy, you know, the team and him, and I believe this is the real Jack, and we're going to see him smash it for the rest of the year, do really well. I genuinely believe that. Said it yesterday, I'll stand by it, because he rode at Catalunya test and felt so confident, came here with the same bike setting and did this all weekend, rode really well. So I think at two completely different tracks, I think he's here to stay. It's the real Jack. What a shame we didn't see him before. He would have kept that job.
Bittersweet day in the end then, wasn't it, for the factory Ducati team? Of course, we touched upon it just before we heard from Jack Miller there, the incident at the start of the Grand Prix. Of course, we had the battle for the lead between Quartararo and Bagnaia. Bagnaia was unable to hold on to that lead. Quartararo was able to grab it, and let's get the story of the race from Fabio Quartararo's point of view. The reigning world champion, his third victory of the season, and boy, is he taking a firm grip now on this 2022 World Championship. He's talking to Matt Birt.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Lewis. Many congratulations again. Back-to-back wins in 2022 for the world champion, Fabio Quartararo. Fabio, you've been a little bit sick all weekend. You're going to feel better tonight, though, after a fantastic victory here in Germany. Well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I feel sick about all the weekend, but the most important is that we finished the weekend on a good way, and especially, you know, I was super consistent all the race. First controlling the gap with Johan, and yeah, finishing the race with that distance with the second is again a step forward for our confidence, and also, you know, the focus you have in a race. You know, 30 laps first, you need to make no mistake, controlling the rear tire. So was a great race, especially not only for the victory but for everything.
How much of a risk was it opting for that medium rear tyre? Because Maya Meregali even said on the grid you weren't sure even a few minutes before it was lights out. So do you feel it was a risk, or were you always confident it was going to be the best choice?
Nah, Mario was lagging a little bit. No, but I was confident with the medium. Just, you know, when our Michelin guy come in the box and say there is only two riders on the medium choice, everyone was a little bit like, so what should we do? I said, no, we stay with the medium and we will do well. And we do well, but I expect little less drop than what we had, but especially I'm pretty happy, and I think that we managed a really great race.
You lead the championship now as another difficult day for Aleix Espargaro. He got pushed off the podium. Pecco Bagnaia, of course, didn't finish. And we're coming to tracks now, Assen and Silverstone, where you won last year. So having already got a pretty decent advantage in the championship, you must see the next two Grand Prix as well as a real big chance to strengthen your grip on the title.
We will see. I take it step by step. The championship is something I look more in October. Right now I'm feeling that I want to fight for victories. Is the only goal I have in my head. I think about Assen, what is our possibility? Fight for the victory, and then we will see.
You're the first Yamaha winner here since Valentino Rossi back in 2009, so you keep breaking all these records. It looked pretty cool on the cool-down lap as well. All the fans back in the grandstands, how special was that?
Yeah, it was super special, and I was a bit too slow. I felt the bike was pretty hot, so the sector 3 and 4 I pushed a little bit more because I saw small alarm on the bike, so yeah, especially it was super great to see some friends on the tracks, all the public and all the fans was great, and I feel pleased because the difference between winning this year and last year, a part of Silverstone that was many fans, here is great because all the time the grandstands are full.
You put on another awesome show today, Fabio. Many congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
He is a superstar, isn't he? Fabio Quartararo, the face of MotoGP right now, without any question, the world champion and world championship leader. And as we were saying a moment ago, he was able to nail it at the start of the race, that battle with Bagnaia. He was able to keep the lead. And unfortunately for Pecco Bagnaia, as we've seen on a few occasions this season, key mistakes have cost him valuable championship points. Of course, he crashed shortly after being overtaken by Enea Bastianini in Le Mans and crashed shortly after losing the lead back to Quartararo here. First of all, talk us through the crash, because we've not seen many people crash quite like that at Turn 1 this weekend. But also, where does this leave him in the World Championship? He's 91 points behind now at the halfway stage of the season.
Yeah, championship-wise, it's not looking good. Until this moment, I've thought it's not over because our championship's cruel, our sport is cruel, and anything can happen, like, for example, Fabio could have been the one taken out in Turn 1 at Barcelona and trying to ride with a dodgy wrist, like Rins, and, here we go, this crash. So he got in hot, he braked really late because he was trying to make time. He could pass Fabio a lap or so earlier there, so he's made time on the brakes. He's carrying extra lean there, and the rear tyre, the hard rear, has let go on him. That was what I put it down to. And then Jack said something else, that put another piece of the puzzle in Parc Ferme. He said the early laps were very low grip. And what riders have said is with the different classes out there, the early laps with the different rubber on track, that the grip is low. I think the combination of carrying a little bit of speed, extra speed, a little bit of lean angle, the little bit lower grip in the early laps has caught him out. But like I said, Fabio wins races and has got such a lead for not doing that. It's like his cat-like reflexes, other people didn't do it. So yeah, it was a shame, and I think we know what happened, but the idea is not to do it. And Pecco, I think the championship's looking over, isn't it, really? Against Fabio, who's completely on form. He's the whole package. He's now mentally strong like he wasn't 18 months ago, and he's doing everything perfectly and backing himself when he felt better on the medium. No one else did.
And that's the key point, isn't it? Fabio Quartararo isn't leaving many points on the table. Even on a bad day, he's still banking those crucial points. Well, in the championship, it's also looking pretty good for Johann Zarco now. Second place for him today. He now moves up to third in the MotoGP World Championship, just behind Aleix Espargaro. Back-to-back podiums for the Frenchman and the Pramac Racing team, and he's now talking to Matt Birt.
Yeah, thanks, Lewis. An excellent Sunday here in the Sachsenring for Johann Zarco. Second in the race, up to third in the World Championship, Johann. But Jack Miller just told us it was the toughest race he's ever had in MotoGP. And you guys have raced in Thailand, in Sepang, in some super hot conditions. It looked really extreme out there. Where do you rank it in the races, both physically and mentally for you?
If Germany is more difficult than Thailand or Malaysia, we know where will be our next holidays. We don't need to fly to the hot country now, if Germany is the hardest one. Maybe because the layout is quite tricky, and this consumption of the rear tire also makes the job harder. And for me, it's been a good race, good start, good moment overtaking Aleix, I think was the key point of the race for me. Then after the crash of Pecco, I was behind Fabio, 1 second behind, and I did my best to stay with him. And even I believe I can catch him up because I was with the hard rear, he was with the medium, so maybe I can have an advantage. But after half race, I've been struggling so much on the edge grip, and he was more constant than me. So thanks to this motivation to follow him, I got a good advantage on the third one. So 5 seconds were useful to control the end of the race and finish second.
We saw in Parc Ferme you were struggling, sort of panting to get your words out. I mean, after the race, did you feel like it was the most tired you felt in a Grand Prix MotoGP?
Can be. It's at the moment anyway. I mean, all the races are quite difficult because I can be fast on the Ducati, but not super relaxed and enjoying every moment. I have to do it like fighting on the bike. I'm fast enough, but if I can get it easier, will be much better for all the races. But clearly here, maybe staying on the left side, Jack, so I was suffering with the left leg. Me, I was more suffering on the left shoulder. There's a moment where you lose the strength, and that's made the situation hard.
You're the top Ducati in today's race, the top Ducati now in the World Championship as well. We heard from Paolo Ciabatti this weekend saying that you're very close to signing a new contract. Is this the best time of your MotoGP career right now? Because everything seems to be working pretty well.
Everything is working pretty well. Last year, at that moment of the year, was also pretty similar, even better, because maybe I was second in that moment. But this year, I didn't start well as I did last year. So being in third place right now and one race before the summer break, that's quite positive. So don't lose the focus. Try to improve myself every time. Give the best and see what I can receive.
A really great second place. Congratulations today, Johan. Many well done.
Yeah, well done to Johan Zarco. Second place for him today. We also heard earlier in the weekend from Paolo Ciabatti in terms of next season for Ducati. Not only is Johan Zarco likely to renew with that team, but the decision as to who will partner Pecco Bagnaia in the factory team will be between Jorge Martin and Enea Bastianini. Of that, it is confirmed. Now, of course, Johan Zarco is not being linked with that ride, and we're not going to stand here and suggest that he should be. But under the radar, in many respects, what a good season he's having right now. With the top Ducati rider in the championship, back-to-back podiums for now. What you do get with him at Ducati is a very safe pair of hands. You know what you're going to get from Johan Zarco on any given weekend.
Yeah, which I think he is in the right spot in Pramac, backing up the factory guys, testing parts. He's got things on his bike that are not on the factory bike. You know, it's filtering through. He's got experience to do that. And like you said, a safe pair of hands for good, consistent results. He's a very different guy, but I love his interviews, how straight they are. You know, you get some gold, how genuinely what it was like out there, and probably comes from age, you know.
So let's look further down then. We've touched upon the podium finishes. Fourth position today for Aleix Espargaro. It kind of tells us where Aleix Espargaro and Aprilia are at now, where we kind of look at that as a bit of a disappointment, although fourth is roughly where he's been this weekend. And a real mixed afternoon for Aprilia in many respects. We saw him here battling with his teammate Maverick Viñales. Aleix Espargaro finishing in fourth position. Viñales had to pull out of the Grand Prix with a problem. His rear ride height device was stuck on. First of all, explain to us what had happened and also the subtle differences between the rear ride height device that Aleix is running and Maverick's running. Okay,
first of all, Maverick looked determined to put up a fight, didn't he? You could see body language. He wanted to fight his teammates. Then with that ride height device dropping, I think he lost the front through that left, like Bertie called, and gave him a bit of a scare because all the weight comes off. And the differences between the device is, I've spotted it pretty much all year, that Aleix has been running the manual device, so a little lever that he can pull that makes the rear slowly, controlled drop on the exit to lower the center of gravity, get the acceleration. Where Maverick has been running it's in development really, the auto device, meaning you can book it on before the corner, on the straight before, and then when you get to a certain point of the exit, you don't have to think about it. It knows that when the forks extend to a certain point, all the weight's on the rear, it's full acceleration, it will drop by itself. And so we'll never know whether it was the activation system or the device itself that failed, but they are different.
So just a fourth place. I say just a fourth place for Purdue, of course, based on previous seasons. That would be a good result in itself. But Aleix Espargaro now falls 34 points behind World Championship leader Fabio Quartararo. Just behind him was Luca Marini, who equals his best result in MotoGP. He got a fifth position at the Austrian Grand Prix last year, where, of course, we had the flag-to-flag, and some riders, including Marini, didn't swap bikes at the end of the race. He's now gone sixth, fifth in the last three Grand Prix. He's found a new level, hasn't he? Of course, with that 2022 Ducati, he found a base setting a couple of rounds ago where he now feels he can put the bike on any racetrack and be competitive straight away, and boy, is that paying off.
You're dead right. I've been watching the machines, especially Luca, watching all the machines all year, and he, in the early races, they were turning it upside down. He was all over the place and not happy, you know. And they settled on one probably 3 or 4 races ago, and then it stayed the same. And he's built confidence, like riders do when they can improve themselves. Now they're happy with the bike. And I'll be straight up, he surprised me today. It was a great ride, really good, beating some very good riders. Just before we finish on that, I've got to say, Alesia's was still a fantastic ride. I didn't get the chance to say that. And we don't know all the things he went through. We'll know once he does his debrief, but still a great ride, great fight, good points for the championship.
Yeah, he remains Fabio Quartararo's closest championship challenger at the moment, 34 points behind, but he looks the only realistic contender at this stage of the season to chase Fabio Quartararo for the championship. Let's quickly rattle through a few more riders before we go. Jorge Martin finished in 6th position, just ahead of Brad Binder. Both himself and Fabio Di Giannantonio finished 7th and 8th. Obviously, Brad Binder so often comes through the field on a Sunday. We can always rely on him for that. But Di Giannantonio, once again, underlining that the rookies are really on form this season. Both him and Raul Fernandez putting in great results today.
Yeah, completely agree. I was watching them during the race, and gotta say, that's why I called out during the race. Fabio Di Giannantonio put in a great ride. He wasn't just fast in qualifying like he has been lately. He wasn't just fast in the early stages of the race, but he held it together better than he ever has. You know, he said he could have done it in Barcelona, but fell, and now we saw him do it. I think he's coming by the end of the year. He could be a proper threat.
Well, the riders are entering the room just to our right, ready for the press conference, so we are short of time, but a very physical German Grand Prix for all of the riders who have very quickly changed out of their leathers and into their civvies for the press conference. So if you're watching us live, the press conference is up next. If not, we will talk to you once again on Friday from the Dutch TT at Assen as we reach round 11 of the 2022 MotoGP World Championship. But for now, Fabio Quartararo puts on another German Grand Prix masterclass and he heads to Assen on top of the world. We will see you next weekend.
Bye for now.
2022 German Grand Prix here in MotoGP. It is go. Great launch from pole position by Ducati's Pecco Bagnaia. Quartararo will sweep up the inside of Bagnaia. The pole man to take the lead into the first corner. Quartararo then in P1. Whoa, how brave was that by Zarco? Up the inside, there was not a lot of room there through the Walman curve. Pecco Bagnaia's gone down, and surely that is World Championship hopes extinguished permanently now for Pecco Bagnaia. Yellow flags are out everywhere. Miller comes into the long lap penalty.
Aleix Espargaro, he's now gone wide. That's Jack Miller ahead of Aleix Espargaro. Miller up onto the podium.
Fabio Quartararo wins the German Grand Prix in MotoGP in 2022. He leads home a French 1-2 here at the Sachsenring.